Hey everybody, we're super excited to be back in the studio with Maddie McConnell. She's an IUPUI graduate and she's currently the Assistant Director for Student Athlete Relations and Impact for the Horizon League. Hey Maddie, how are you doing today?
Hey y'all, what's up? I'm doing great. Thanks for having me
here.
Mm-hmm. So to start, why don't you just kind of go into what you do in your role at the Horizon League?
Yeah, so fairly new role. Created for yours truly. Honestly, started as a fellow back in 2022, and then that position formed into the position I have now. So student athlete relations, that part is more so student athlete development, but in normal terms, I'm the plug for the 3,000 student athletes that we have in our conference to the league office here in Indianapolis, basically. And then the impact part, all things community engagement, all things DEI, mental health, all of our league initiatives that we try to implement throughout the academic year. So yeah.
How is it work? Do you work directly with the student athletes? How is that?
Yeah, so like I said, there's 3,000 of them, so it's hard to really get in tune with all of them. But what I've done this past academic year is travel to all 11 member institutions. So all 11 of our universities and colleges that are a part of the Horizon League, I've gone to their SAC meetings, so Student Athlete Advisory Committee meetings, and basically get a taste of what they like, what they don't like. My goal there is to really, for student athletes, they are always told what to do, whether it be by their coaches, their administrators, their professors, what have you. I really want to give them ownership. Like, look, tell me what you want me to do, and how we can implement that in their championships, on their day-to-day, everyday lives, and then also at their in their regular season competition.
Gotcha. And with you said 11 different schools.
Yes.
How is it managing that and traveling everywhere to help them out?
I mean, the flexibility is nice. So the traveling always helps, having a home base and then getting it, I'm very, very big on networking horizontally instead of vertically, because you never know where the person next to you is going to be in like 5-10 years. So like my peers, like you two sitting next to me, like who knows where y'all be in 10 years. I'd be like, oh yeah,
Right.
I know y'all. You know what I mean? So that's
them.
big for me. So that's definitely been a plus. But how to manage it? I mean, schedules vary, especially in college athletics with the ever-moving landscape with it. But I mean, I just go with the flow, honestly. I'm more so of I'm very authentic and very personable, if you couldn't tell already. So I'm definitely open, very flexible when it comes to navigating the schedules and the landscapes of 11 schools. And I'm glad we only have 11 schools because, other conferences have double that, as we all know. So definitely blessed to be in that position. So
kind of going back to when you were talking about like the students and you giving them the right to tell you what they want. How's like that been? Do they struggle with that sometimes? Like, because they were told what to do forever?
It's funny you ask that. I mean, no student athlete group is the same, of course, given there's 11 member institutions all throughout the Midwest, and some come from Green Bay, Wisconsin, some come from Cincinnati, Ohio, or Indianapolis, Indiana, Detroit, Michigan, Cleveland, Ohio, things of that nature, Pittsburgh. So again, no student athlete group will be the same. And so some, it's like pulling teeth, not gonna lie, because they're just like, I'm just here to go to school and play my sport and I'm out. But other people are really involved and really want to, capitalize on this platform that they're on, because I stress to them that the platform that you are on as a Division I student athlete is probably the biggest you'll be on. No matter if you go pro or not, but also the biggest support system you'll ever have. So take advantage of that. And there's people like myself that, coulda, shoulda, woulda, could have played Division I college athletics, but couldn't because of X, Y, and Z. And so I really want to stress to them, like, look, this is a privilege, this is an opportunity, and people want to be in your shoes. And so how can you capitalize on this opportunity, whether it be on the playing surface or off the playing surface? So,
Right. And then what do you specifically, I know you have so many athletes, but what do you specifically help them with, or do you have certain athletes that you focus on? Yeah,
so we are a basketball-focused conference. We don't have football in our conference. And so basketball is what, pays the bills, I guess, if you like to say. But we do highlight all 19 of our sponsored varsity sports. So that's really what I hone in on. And yes, basketball gets all the glitz and glamour, but every single one of you all matter, and I want you all to know that. I mean, to help me out, give me an assist. I'm like, tell me what you're doing, like internships, job opportunities, your comeback story, where are you from, how did you get to Division I, things of that nature, because honestly, the Horizon League is very special that all of their member institutions are in metropolitan cities. And so the student athletes, I really stress them to take advantage of their the atmosphere they're in the cities they're in, and the cities they travel to within league competition, because again, as you two know, I'm sure that the sports world is very small if they want to work in sports, and just the college athletics landscape, as others know, that it is very small as well. So use your network, take advantage of it. But yeah, that's ultimately what I tell them every time.
So staying with the whole basketball idea, I mean, Oakland just made this huge deal in the tournament and made this. What was it like in the office for you guys, or just like that environment around that?
Oh, so we were all locked in. So we have this little, we had a bracket in the office, like a friendly competition. The winner got like brownies or something. So it's funny. So we all picked Oakland except one person, because it's a point system, right? So if your guess is correct or your prediction is correct, you get points. And so one person in the office was like, I want Oakland to win, but I don't think they're going to win, so let's pick Kentucky. And then that's how that went. But nonetheless, we were all locked in, very exciting. Our phones blew up with each other, and everyone on the outside were like, oh my God.
It was crazy.
But definitely, from my perspective, in my position, so student-athlete relations, where that comes into play, I also handle with NIL. So name, image, likeness, of course. And I know that's a big landscape now, too. Yeah. But so right after that win, I sent out an email saying, look, connect with our NIL platform, which is Open Doors. So we have a league-wide partnership with them, and we just wrapped up year 2. But partner with them, and they'll teach you how to get blue check verified. They'll teach you how to, navigate this landscape in the event you do win. And so, granted, we wish we would have beat them to the punch about it, but we made it happen. And next thing you know, Jack Golke, of course, went from 500 followers to 78,000 followers in a matter of 5 hours.
Wild.
So navigating that landscape, I mean, no one can ever be completely prepared for that, but being able to at least be a helping hand in that process was key in those 72 hours that they played.
Yeah, with NIL and athletes like him getting more popular, do you try and help athletes? Is that a big focus on getting their names out there as well?
Right. So with our Open Doors partnership, the big thing with me is I encourage them to use it, because granted, a lot of the student athletes are like, I don't play basketball, so why even try? Why even? No one wants to, have me sponsor their, drink or anything, or their coffee or whatever. But the big thing with this Open Doors platform is unique about it. It's like a Match.com type of deal. And so if you broadcast yourself, if you, have your profile all set in stone, you put your interests, then the brands that are already on that platform will come to you. And there's other, perks to it. So, there's educational platforms. So, our student athletes can get their real estate license for free on there.
Whoa,
so there's other, exactly.
That's so
we
cool.
try to plug them with other things. It's just the hardest part is, having them buy in. If they don't buy in, I'm like, why am I here? And so that's the biggest thing. And I think that face-to-face interaction, as we all know, is essential going into, the next few years. And technology has, surfaced at an all-time high, but definitely that face-to-face interaction is what I lean on as far as interacting with the 3,000 plus student athletes and trying to get them to buy in. So
for sure,
that's awesome. Do you see with these athletes, when you're in this face-to-face with them, are they appreciative of you, not really give you the time of day, or have you ever have they been super thankful for what you do, or just kind of continue on with what they're doing?
I mean, yeah, like I said, there's none of the same, but I've definitely had some that check in every so often, and I've built that relationship and that credibility with them, and that trust, which is huge, especially when you're dealing in the world of college athletics. But also, I have people that just listen to me speak. Hopefully they took something away from my conversation, and then they go on about their day. But I've written, reference letters and things of that nature. So the connection is there, slowly but surely building. And my goal is to ultimately, get them more engaged, because honestly, in the world of college athletics, we're losing our student athletes as far as the engagement part is concerned. They're just, there to do their job and then take off. But with my position, my ultimate goal is to really up that engagement piece, really have them buy in into what they're doing, because of the opportunities that being a Division I student athlete can bring.
Yeah.
Right. With you also being the head girls basketball coach for KIP at the Indy Legacy High School, how do you prepare those girls for the college level?
Yeah, so that's a whole different landscape because this Gen Z, I believe, Gen Z is a different generation,
Right.
to say the least.
Yeah.
And it was a learning curve for me because I just finished up my first year coaching at the high school
Cool.
level, and as a head coach, I should say. And it's really hard. The buy-in is different. It's not because the girls want to play college basketball. They're playing basketball at this relatively new school. So they just graduated their first 4-year class last year. So
Wow.
so fairly new program, fairly new school in general. And so the biggest, obstacle I had to face is like, how do I teach basketball to people that don't want to play basketball?
Mm-hmm.
Right? And so that was a big challenge, and it made me realize that what we do, coaches are more than just coaches. Coaches are mentors. Coaches are, influencers in life and in sport. And so my biggest task was everything they do on the basketball court related to life.
Yeah.
Related to life. And how can I get them to buy in and stay? Because a lot of the times it's like, oh my goodness, I can't hit a layup. I'm not going to stay. I don't want to run. I'm not going to stay. Why am I here? I don't want to play in college. What am I doing here?
Yeah.
And so that buy-in was tricky. But again, I'm big on authenticity, and I was authentically myself and unapologetic about everything I've done with them. And so I had them bought in, and now I'm going into year 2 here soon for some spring workouts. So fingers crossed.
Excited for that.
I know, right?
How have you seen, like, from your day one walking into the gym to the end of the season or to now, like, how did you see them progress, or like, what did you, like, I know you're talking about this authenticity, but like, what did you have to do to get them to trust you you're a stranger walking into this fairly new thing. Like, how do you get them to trust you?
That was not the easiest. So the group I had in September was not the same group I had come February 1, come sectional time, right? So a lot of turnover there because, again, the girls are there either just to get away from home, to make new friends, to stay after school longer, just to not be bored, They're just there to do something and have some fellowship in some regards. And so how did I get them to buy in? I mean, again, personal being myself, but also trying to make it fun, make it, make them work out without making them think they're working out. So like not having them run stairs or run a suicide, but do full court layups with music playing. What's your favorite song? Okay, cool. Let me play that. Give me like 10 full court layups. Let's do it. And by the end, they didn't realize they were working out but they were singing along with their song. But next thing you know, they're breathing heavy. I'm like, okay, good. We're doing something here.
You're like,
Just those little tips and tricks that I've gotten from my my friends, my colleagues who've coached for longer periods of time than me, and really just having them buy in and teaching basketball in a different way. And that was the biggest challenge, but also the biggest success too.
That would have been real nice to have music during practice.
No,
I'm jealous.
I was running those suicides wanting to cry.
Man, there's still some discipline there. So I still had to teach them, like, look, there's consequences for your actions. And accountability was a big thing for us this year. And, carrying that on throughout the season was huge. But definitely want to, it's a new generation. So you got to be able to move with them. So.
Yeah,
it's different.
Definitely. How big is this school?
So this school is probably between freshmen, sophomores, juniors, and seniors, probably 300 students.
It's like my school. That's like us. Yep.
Probably 300 students.
Schools.
Yeah. Wow.
Yeah. So there's like there's one hallway and then like a little cubicle area, and that's the high school. So
Dang.
Sounds familiar.
Yeah. Definitely an intimate group. So you can't go down, change classes without seeing someone you like, someone you don't like. But, but it's like I said, coaching is more than just coaching. And as a lot of people can allude to that, it's worth it in the end once you see like the fruits of your labor. But the process, I've learned to be where your feet are, embrace the journey, embrace where you're at to really, influence others. So.
And for that, what's like the fans been like? Or this like when you go to a game, like do people show up? Nobody show up? Like
so one thing about small schools, I'm sure you all know, people show up for each other.
Yeah.
They ride for each other. So like our games were come, the whole every single student was there. It seemed like. I mean, so it was loud. It was energetic. I mean, win or lose. I mean, granted, make a layup, miss a layup. Hey, we heard them. Okay, we heard them. The parents were bought into. The parents that I've got to interact with, of course, and so. Again, these student athletes are some of them. It was their first time touching a basketball, so there's the engagement level differs there. But who were there, whoever showed up, we're all bought in, and it was a roller coaster, but it was fun. Roller coasters are a lot, but they're fun.
Right.
So.
Enough to make you come back for year 2.
Exactly. There we go.
There you go. That's awesome. And then kind of switching into like the city league, you're a board of directors on that, like. And what exactly do you do, like, in that nonprofit? Like, what is their goal? What do you do in it?
Yeah, City League. Whew, that is the reason I am sitting with y'all today, is because of the City League. I mean, and because of COVID, but we'll get into that a little later. But yeah, the City League is ultimately a nonprofit organization dedicated to uplifting community, of course, but it's a nonprofit based on competitive basketball. So we use the energy of competitive basketball to impact areas of Indianapolis and the greater Indianapolis area, soon to be the whole state of Indiana, fingers crossed. But of course, Indiana, we're a basketball state, and in 49 other states, it's just basketball. But in Indiana and Indianapolis, for sure, the basketball culture is heavy. And so like those household names are still alive, and we try to, keep it that way. It started on the men's side, but because of COVID, and yours truly, and another colleague of mine, we started a women's division. And so now we get to, uplift those household names on the women's side as well. So keep those alive too.
How do you find players for this league? Like, are you taking like high school or like AAU? Like, where are you getting? Yeah,
so it's all former collegiate and professional players, and then some straight out of high school, depending on the division. So NCAA, of course, with all those, policies and procedures, we cannot touch them until they are graduated. But NAIA players are more than welcome to compete with us. So it's more like a pro-am style. I mean, of course, without all pros on a team. Right. But in the summer, we compete for a cash prize. But all of our teams that we create are sponsored by small-owned or minority-owned businesses, or just people that want to see it succeed.
That's so cool.
How do you go out and find the specific players you want, or do they come to you?
Yeah. So at first, 3 years ago, probably 3 years ago in March now. It was more so like cold calling, like, hey, and, using social media, making a flyer, like open gym, come show out, come get some runs in, get some good cardio. But, the men, it's easy. The men, you can find anybody, and come hoop. Like, come hoop and they'll come. Women, I mean, I'm dealing with a vast age range. So anywhere from like 19 years old to like 42. Our oldest is like 42. Ooh. And granted, women haven't, let's see, how do I put it this way? Women, if they haven't touched a basketball before, they probably won't ever, right? You can't just grab somebody off the street and tell her to come hoop. Right. She has to have touched or, played a little ball in her life, of some sort. And so that was the hardest part, as far as finding girls that could hoop and make the, the competitive atmosphere still, be there. Yeah. And so it started with cold calling and, bringing people in, but then we created something special. Our first season, we had 8 teams our first season, and it was highly competitive, and we created buzz, we created noise, and we kept it going, and now they just come to us. So now I got people in my inbox like, hey, when's the next gym, when's the next run, when's the next league? And we've done some creative things around the City League as far as our tournaments are concerned, but I'm excited to see what this year has in store.
Cool. That's sick. Do you have a goal of how many teams you want to get up to?
I mean, all for gender equity, right? The men have 12. We've always had 8. But I mean, my dream would be match the guys, 12 and 12. Granted, we'd have to probably get a bigger gym or find
that's
some more bleachers somewhere. That's definitely a good problem to have. But that'll be the end goal. I mean, we usually have like 6 created teams by like girls who are captains, and they pick whoever. But we usually have 1 to 2 free agent teams, we call it. So like people that come to me like don't have a team but really want to play. So I try my best to be general manager and make a team for them. So my goal before the 12 teams would probably be have all 8 teams be created on their own, and people are just creating that community through the runs and through whatever social media or what have you. But yeah.
So with you being the creator, the high up of this woman's side of things, like what all did you have to do? Like you talked about cold calling, but like what all did you have to do in order to make this happen? Like at some point you have to fight for like, oh, let's start a women's league, and then you have to prove it. Like how did you go about?
How did I go about it? Okay, I honestly, if you want the truth, and nothing but the truth, so help me God. I needed an internship to graduate, and so I was like, I got to get this done, right? And so it started off as like just some hours, like, okay, let me have a couple, open gyms here, open gyms there, and see what I can do for the next, 10 weeks? Yeah. Okay. And so then it turned into something bigger than that, and I was like, oh, I got to keep this going, right? And it ended up, long story short, those girls that I met 3 years ago are like family to this day, and like some of my biggest supporters. But ultimately what it came down to was, starting those open gyms in those notable areas of the city. So like at Warren Central, we started our first open gym at Warren Central, had everyone come out. Then we moved to a central location in Shortridge. So like the IPS vibe was there, and then we went to township schools as well. Really just trying to move and trying to get our name out there as far as what we have going on, because again, guys can hoop 7 days a week without a problem. Yeah. But everyone, like the women in the city who are back home, who used to hoop and are back at their roots, they're trying to find somewhere to get active. Especially a lot of our women just had kids a few, some months ago, some years ago, and some are single parent mothers, or some are, the oldest sibling taking care of the younger. Like the situations vary so differently, and that it's the buy-in. When people show up, that meant more to me because I knew they were sacrificing so much. And so that was like, wow, we really did something with this. And I didn't realize it until, because I'm not from here, I'm from South Bend, Indiana. And until someone was like, keep going, like this is what I needed. And like the words of affirmation were huge for me. And that's what ended up keeping me going. So.
So you start this in this internship, you graduated 2019? From here, I'd say 2020, 2021. So COVID.
Dependent.
So you got right into that COVID. So earlier said we'll talk about it later. Let's talk about it now. Yeah. Let's get into that, like COVID and you graduating, and the sports world is obviously on pause. They're not really doing much, and kind of what did you have to do through that? What was your experience like through all that? Yeah, so I am extremely grateful for my first 3 years of college to be normal, as normal as we thought it was. Yeah. And then in the winter of 2020, I was blessed enough to be an extern in the women's basketball department at the NCAA. And so January 2020, of course, that was the New Orleans year. For their Final Four, and then we all know what happened in March of 2020. I'm all excited to go to my first women's Final Four, and then And shout out to the faculty and staff at IUPUI. That's the only reason I was in the NCAA office, because of the connections I built in the sports management program. So shout out to Sherm, shout out to Pierce and those guys. But definitely was an eye-opening experience to being in the national office right down the street, taking advantage of one of our major cities in the Horizon League, plugging them. But so everything hit the fan in March of 2020, and I realized that no one sees sports as a necessity, because we were all that whole summer, that whole spring and summer, we were not essential workers, of course. Granted, we don't save lives, cure cancer, but we are a catalyst for a lot of overall wellness aspects when it comes to physical activity, mental health, emotional health. I didn't realize how much I watch, play, coach, interact in sports makes my life go around. And I hit like a mental curve. I'm like, dang, what do I do? Like, I got to, pivot on, no pun intended, but I have to pivot on certain things as far as life, and had to figure it out. And so that's when I, developed a passion for, creating a purpose for sport outside of just entertainment and physical activity. And so back to your question. Sorry, very long-winded. No, good. Back to your question as far as like how did it happen?
So COVID happened, and then I worked remotely for the NCAA over the summer and did some officiating work with them. And so now I'm just applying. I'm like, okay, COVID's like 6 months in. Okay, people are still going to hire me, so I'm applying for these internships to graduate, as we talked about earlier. So the list goes on. We got the Fever, we got the Indy 11, we have, the Motor Speedway. And they all gave me a yes, but COVID. Yes, but our hiring freeze. Yes, but I don't know if they'll let us do the onboarding process right away. It might be delayed. Everything was contingent based on COVID. So now I'm just like, you know what, give me my diploma. All I want is my diploma. I don't care what I have to do. Just give me my diploma and we'll make something happen. So I'm going through this list of emails to send my resume to, and Sherman and Pierce are helping me along the way as well. But I found the City League. And so my executive director, Austin Taylor, now one of my, a big brother to me now, I sent him an email. I was like, look, I don't know what you guys are about. I have never heard of you, but it seems like basketball. I love basketball. I will mop the floors. I will rack the balls. I don't care what, but I will do it for you. Just, I need to graduate, right?
Yeah.
And so, long story short, I hopped on the Zoom, and he was like, we already filled our internship positions. Granted, I wasn't mad because it was with my fellow classmates at the time. But he was like, look, we've been actually, your passion for women's basketball and, moving the needle as far as sports is concerned is interesting. So how would you like to help us start a women's division? I'm like, will I graduate for it? Do I get the credit? Do I get the credit? Will you sign off it? Yeah. No, but I was like, there was a no-brainer for me. I was like, yeah, let's do it. I mean, everything else was contingent based on COVID. I didn't have a solid yes from everybody. And so I was like, I just, walked by faith, and it happened. So, open gym one day, we all hopped on a Zoom call with 5 different, influential women as far as basketball is concerned in the city. And planned an open gym at Warren Central in March, and the rest is history.
Dang. Wow. Who were some of those women on the Zoom call? I'm curious. Okay,
so as far as on the Zoom call, I'm trying to drop some names that people may know. So Sharika Webb was a big Cathedral. She won state at Cathedral back in the early 2000s, and then ended up going to Purdue and doing some damage there. Portia Green, she's like the godmother of all things basketball in Indianapolis. So she was the giant slayer. So the year Candace Parker and the Tennessee won the national championship, the year after, she went to Ball State. So she went to Arlington High School here and then went to Ball State, and drew a 12 seed in that tournament and beat the 5 seed Tennessee Volunteers in that. So she definitely was a giant slayer then. Amber Harris, she's a Indiana Miss Basketball back in the early 2000s as well, and then went to North Central, and then went to Xavier, was the freshman of the year over there, and then got drafted number 4 overall in the WNBA. So she's still around in the city. There's a lot of gems in the city that we still don't know that live here, but they're still
right. That's crazy.
Yeah, Stephanie Mavunga, she's still playing. She was in the EuroLeague Final Four just last week. Bria Goss, she was a national champion. I'm just giving all my girls their flowers.
Shout them out.
Bria Goss, so Ben Davis Lady Giants, who went undefeated for 2 years in a row. They were national champions when they beat Skylar Diggins and her squad in 2009-10 to rally that national championship. And I'm from South Bend, so I went to that game. I remember those games. And so meeting Bria for the first time, I was like, ooh. I'm not your biggest fan, but then now we're the best of friends, and it's a full circle moment for sure. But now she's still playing overseas, and now she does color for the Indiana Fever. And like I said, the list goes on for sure. The list goes on, and the connections I made because of it have only elevated my career. So.
Yeah, and they, you said they were on the Zoom call for the City League.
Yeah.
Do they still help out with that, or
Yeah, so we've got Portia on board. Portia's now on the board, right? And now they're all, we have a group chat. We talk every day. Maybe not every day, but, every so often. And then we still get our runs in. Like, we're still, we hoop for a living now again. But,
that's what's up.
Yeah, so we still brought that competitive nature back because we still, talk our trash. And we we still have fun with it. It's not just to get cardio anymore. Right. It's definitely to have some fun, especially when there's money involved in the summer. But I will say the community aspect of it, shifting gears a little bit, in the fall and the spring, we have what we call our T-shirt leagues. So we call them T-shirt leagues because we wear T-shirts and not jerseys. So we wore T-shirts in the fall and spring, and what we did there was highlight influential women outside of sports in the city of Indianapolis. And so each team, instead of being sponsored by a small-owned business, would be sponsored by or highlighted by influential women in the city of Indianapolis.
That's cool.
That's really cool.
So.
That's really cool.
That. I've been really interested to hear about Queens of the Court, because
Yes.
we've been all talking about women so much. I'm so interested to hear how this became about.
I mean, so Queens of the Court is actually the women's division of the City League, and so we're trying to get that trademarked and, make that happen. But, I was like, what do we call this? I mean, there's the ESPN W, and then there's in the Gym Hoops W, who are amazing, supporters of us. But how can what's the women's side? Do we have to have a name, right? Under the TCL umbrella. And so instead of just TCLW, we called it, I was like Queens of the Court. Because we used to play Queens of the Court growing up, on the court. Literally, whoever had their ball last, last one standing wins. And so now we really took that to a whole other level and a whole new meaning as far as Queens of the Court is concerned, because we definitely brought light back to Indianapolis in basketball. So
I love the name. I think it's a good
awesome.
fit.
QOC.
That's a good one. With working with all these big names and these what do you learn from them? Or what's one piece of advice you would give people that they've given you, or you've learned just from working together?
Yeah, I think I said it earlier. Be where your feet are. Literally, we get so caught up, especially as young professionals. Ooh, where am I going to be in 5 years? Where am I going to be in 10 years? Where am I going to be tomorrow? What am I eating for lunch next week? Something like that. But I think through that, I learned that being where your feet are, embracing the moment, and enjoying the journey. Because if I was too busy worried about, oh, dang, my internship, I got to graduate. I really wanted to work with them, so I got to work with the City League. Who is that? If I was too worried about, what could have came and not what, what's right in front of me right now, and taking advantage of that, then I wouldn't be where I am today. I mean, it all came into fruition eventually, and it's just a domino effect from there. So live in the moment. I mean, it's hard. It's easier said than done, for sure, especially as young professionals. And the landscape of sports in general has just, changed, and there's so many opportunities through that. But, be where your feet are, live in the moment, and, from there, everything you do right now will, eventually encompass into what you will become. So
it's actually great advice, because I'm in that spot right now.
I'm gonna be taking that one.
It's good to hear.
One.
Just live in the moment is really the right words, because you just have to go with where you are right now, you see in that position.
Definitely. And I think I've learned that not only through where I've came from, but also the women I'm interacting with are I'm 24. The women I'm interacting with are 10 plus years older than me, right? And so now I get a glimpse of, where do I want to be in 10 years? Where do I not want to be in 10 years? And they give me that advice, and so I'm just absorbing it like a sponge. I know you've heard that before. Be a sponge, absorb, ask questions, be curious, things of that nature. So I'm giving a front row seat of what, if I don't live in the moment, what, time can get away from me. And, and then what can happen, or what couldn't happen, or what could happen in the long run. So
that's a good one. Because I feel we talk a lot about, oh, you want to intern for the Pacers or the Fever or the big names. It's you don't always have to start out big.
No, you don't.
We hear a lot through the program, you might start being the one mopping the floors first, which we do for the Fever. So
as you should, especially next year. I mean, this summer.
Hey, I'll wipe the floor for Caitlin. Any dish.
I'll do whatever.
I'm
just excited to work for them.
Yeah, we just talk about that. You may not start. You pretty much never start where you want to start.
I mean, that was me. I mean, I thought I started where I want to start. NCAA, like, once you have those 4 letters on your resume, like, everybo's like, ooh, what you have to offer? What do you got to give? And then I was like, and I realized, like, I developed more as a professional and as an individual in general when I had that position with the City League. And now, of course, I'm a board member, so they're stuck with me now. And so I wore so many hats, and I do so now at a mid-major level. So everyone's like Horizon League, like, what's that? It's the same thing as a Big Ten, just a little smaller, right?
Yeah.
And so at the Big Ten, I'd probably just do one thing and one thing only. At the Horizon League now, I'm wearing 10 to 15 to 20 hats, you know, and, you know, trying to, you know, there's overlap everywhere in small organizations. And so taking advantage of that, and now I'm like, people have told me like I'm like well beyond my years. I know people have said that before, but I mean, now I'm starting to realize it. Like, oh, really? This isn't normal for a 24-year-old? Okay. Okay, good to know. But yeah, I've really taken advantage of these smaller organizations, more intimate settings where I can really ask questions and be curious and not looked at like, oh, that's just an intern. And that's one thing. I walked in and didn't feel like an intern with anywhere I've started because one, the confidence, of course, that has to be there, whether if you believe yourself or not. And then two, just, you know, carrying yourself with that curious instinct and always asking questions and, just taking advantage of the moment. That's one thing I've learned as of late, so.
She's preaching. She's preaching out here.
Just right now.
Yes. Amen.
Uh-huh.
Awesome. Okay, before we end, you put about your fun facts that you're ambidextrous.
Yes. Kinda, sorta. I just like to say I'm ambidextrous in life just because like I play sports with my right side of my body and then do everyday life with my left side of my body. So like whether it be eat, you know, eyebrows, mascara, whatever. Like that's my left side of my body. And like paint toes, like paint my nails, whatever. But like kick, throw, punch, I don't know, like that's all my right side of my body.
I never heard someone say it like that because you're really just like, oh, I write with my left and then like I play with
I write with my left and play with my so that's true, but everything it's weird. I don't know
how did you figure that out? Like are you shooting a basketball and you're like,
well, because first I don't know, because I got introduced to basketball when I was in like 6th grade. I didn't play like organized basketball till 6th grade, so like a little later on than everybody. Because I was never this tall, first of all. I was always a soccer player. That was my sport. Travel soccer, like, to the death of me. And then, you know, I was just doing it to, you know, make friends and stuff. And then I fell in love with it. So that's how that happened. But, yeah, I just was like, oh, you're not a lefty? I'm like, no. I guess I'm not. I mean, I guess I was taught with my right hand, and then the rest is history. And I always kicked with my right, and then I was like, oh. And then once you get older, you start to, you know, put some mascara on, or, you know, do your, I don't know. I'm like, oh shoot, I guess I am.
She just catches it one day. You're like, wait a minute.
Literally, like, oh, okay, left at life, and right at. I don't know. I tried to make it rhyme, but it didn't work. But
that's all right. I got you.
We get the gist.
I got you.
Cool.
That's funny. That's cool though.
So you've talked about so many women like that you work with, that you've looked up to. Who has been your favorite athlete and why? Or just it could be your like favorite female that you've worked with.
That's a good one. There's a whole bunch of lists. I'm gonna give you a few. Of course, Skylar Diggins, being from the hometown South Bend, Indiana, and her adversity that she's had to go through. Like she's known as always being like second place because she's won only one state championship and was always at those Final Fours and couldn't really get over that hump. And then like the adversity she hit in the W, especially now. Now she's in Seattle. I'm excited to see where she goes. I'm excited to see how she plays in Seattle. But another ND grad, Natalie Achanwa, has been my biggest like support system over the past like year and a half, 2 years. She is like the face of Team Canada and played for the Lynx, and now she's a free agent. But she has literally told me like there's So one thing she told me, it was actually like a couple weeks ago at the Final Four. She told me, she was like, there's confidence and comfortability, right? And I think and she's like, I think you're there. I think you're comfortable, and I think you are rather confident in that. But I think it's time for you to grow. I think it's time for you to like bust out that shell and really, you know, see where this whole like you're your talents and your overall demeanor can take you. And so I've really been trying to, challenge myself and see, like, I'm comfortable in Indianapolis, yes. And I'm comfortable where, in my job. But if it doesn't mean leaving Indianapolis, what can I do in the now to really, bust out that comfort zone and really try to, amplify myself? And I have a few ideas that I could possibly get into. Because I've learned that I think I want to be my own boss one day.
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, I definitely want to be my own boss one day. And how can I, leverage that in a way as a young professional into, what's to come. So
that's
still
awesome.
being where my feet are. Still being where my feet are.
Right.
Yep.
But what can I do now to help, what's to come? So
you gotta have goals still.
yeah, definitely.
Oh yeah.
That's good. Skylar Diggins. I love
Great.
Skylar.
Yes, who doesn't love Skylar?
Right. And Seattle's gonna be.
Seattle's gonna
I'm
be
excited
tough.
with Jewel, and
Yes.
I'm a UConn fan, so Nika Mule going there
Yes,
now. Like, let's
yes.
go. That's
And then the
good.
whole Sue Bird and Nika Mule, you see that side by side? They both got jobs to Seattle. That was cool.
UConn legends right there.
I saw her video about her number. I think she's gonna let her have it.
No,
Oh,
she's not getting that number.
yeah, there's a whole number debacle with Angel Reese and then Camila Cardard's.
They came out with it. Did you see today?
Oh, so who's?
Wait,
Angel's
what?
5, Camilla's 10.
Oh, okay.
They just posted that
Angel,
today.
Oh, okay. So Angel gave
Like,
up her number. Gotcha.
She did. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. There's so much stuff going on in the women's game. Oh my
I
gosh.
love it.
I wish if I didn't wear the shirt I had on yesterday, I would have wore it today. It was, if you're just now tuning into women's basketball, we told you so.
Oh, I love those.
Yes.
And
Really.
so I would have definitely wore that today. But
Yeah. I've been seeing people talk about like the WNBA salary fight, Caitlin. I'm like, welcome to the WNBA,
you
guys.
have to invest. I'm gonna drop the mic after this one. Invest in women's sports. I'm telling you,
Period.
show up, watch. That's the only way that's gonna happen.
End
so,
it right there.
yeah.
Just like that.
Yep.
End it right there.
for
Boom.
sure.
Absolutely.
For sure.
Oh, thank you so much for being here.
Yeah.
I loved all what you told me and
Yeah.
us.
Lots
and
of good things.
good advice for now.
Yeah.
Like us where we are. Good advice for others in their futures too.
Yeah.
I was gonna say, take it, run with it. 1 month,
Yeah.
a year and 1 month. Get it. Let's get it.
Yeah.
Let's get it.
And
Turn
shout out
up.
to you
go.
because
Thank you.
your job is
Yes,
great.
shout
You're on
out.
here because you were awesome when I
Yeah.
volunteered for you. And you're
Yes.
doing all the things.
Yes.
So
Yes.
it's awesome.
Shout out Kenzie. But
No, shout out Maddie.
Yeah.
Shout out Maddie.
this is definitely shout out Taya too, and Sherm in the back corner.
Yeah,
But-
shout out Sherm.
Yeah, but one more plug. Sherm is the reason why I'm sitting. Also, the reason why I'm sitting here today.
Same.
Okay.
Same.
The
For
flowers
all.
need to be given.
Absolutely.
Okay. Yeah, he saw something in me that I didn't, and
Yeah.
next thing you know, what 5, 10, 8 years later, I see it in myself. So
Yeah. Thank God for all of us at this
yeah,
table.
for sure.
Yeah.
So I'm excited to see where y'all end up. So
Thank you.
Excited. Thank
Woo.
you.
mic drop.
Mic drop.
Period.
Boom.
All right, and then next episode, Hannah Watkins. We can't wait to have
Woo.
her.
Super
Can't wait
excited.
to share all of what she's done and where she is now. Bye.